but this is a real and present danger, and too many people are not wanting to acknowledge it. More people would be telling you the same, I think, if it wasn't for the fact that China's so powerful, so rich, so many business contracts to offer. Now, as I told you earlier, it is believed to have locked up 1 million Muslims in its far west to re-educate them. Last week, the BBC interviewed former prisoners and warders who said women there were raped. Now, I've shown you this once already tonight, but this is so important, I'm going to show you again.
They did whatever evil their mind could think of, and they didn't spare any part of my body.
Han Chinese men would pay money to have their pick of the pretty young inmates. My job is to remove their clothes and then handcuff them on their beds so they cannot move.
It is very obvious. Their goal is to destroy everyone, and everyone knows it. These women are done.
Now, some of the evidence that these witnesses gave is so graphic, I cannot show it to you tonight. Just imagine the worst, and that's what's being done according to these witnesses. Now, one reason that you don't hear more voices condemning China is not just the money and not just the power, it's because of what it does to anyone it can get its hands on who do criticise it. Cheng Lei is an Australian journalist who for years has worked in China for its state media. Here she is talking some time ago to the ABC.
Australian education and Australian cultures and values are all enmeshed together, and that means a lot of respect for freedom, a lot of respect for creativity, individuality, and I think that has helped me so much in my work. The beauty of an Australian education is not about what is taught, but more about what it doesn't teach. It doesn't teach you to just follow orders. It allows you that freedom to think for yourself, to question.
Well, Cheng Lei mostly has kept her nose clean in China, been very discreet, but she did question things last year. She questioned the way that Chinese officials had bungled the reaction to the coronavirus, covered up. And she wrote on her blog, "Serve the people," goes the slogans. Reality is the opposite. Well, 6 months ago, Cheng Lei was arrested. And now China has told Australia it will put her on trial. Here's our Foreign Minister today.
Australian citizen Cheng Lei has now been formally arrested on suspicion of illegally supplying state secrets overseas.
What a farce, what an utter stitch-up. This trial will be a show trial, just like the ones Stalin used to stage in the Soviet Union. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I better give the Chinese Foreign Affairs spokesman his chance to put a gloss on this. No, he says, this will be, China's a country of the rule of law. Here he is.
Australian citizen was conducted illegal activities on supplying state secrets overseas. So in accordance with China's criminal procedural law, they approved her arrest on February the 5th. The legitimate rights of this person are fully guaranteed. We hope the Australian side will respect China's judicial authority and stop interfering in China's legal handling of this case in any way.
Joining me is my Monday political panel, Michael Kroger, former Victorian Liberal President, and Steve Conroy, former Labor Cabinet Minister. Steve, the arrest of Cheng Lei, now charged with leaking state secrets. Your reaction?
Well, look, I think you've already summed it up as best it can be. This is a farce. I mean, the Chinese are now becoming adept at what the Iranians do, which is what is referred to as hostage diplomacy. They've been up in arms since a Huawei founder was arrested in Canada. They immediately arrested a Canadian. You saw, unfortunately, that 4 Chinese journalists had their homes raided by our security services on the basis of their activities. And she has been clearly targeted as a retaliation and it's a very difficult circumstance. You have to feel for her and her family. And obviously some of those comments she made just allowed her to be an easy target. As you say, she's been very discreet in general, but with the outbreak of COVID, there was a lot of discourse and unrest about the Chinese government's handling of it inside China at the time, before it was quickly stamped down on. And she is now a victim of a Chinese system that isn't prepared to respect the rule of law. It won't allow guaranteed consular access or legal representation in the way that you and I would define it. And while, yes, we have to respect their processes, that doesn't mean Australia should sit back and allow this to go uncommented.
Yeah, no, it's not allowing it totally to go uncommented. But Michael Kroger, our political editor, Andrew Clennell, was saying today the government privately is extremely downbeat on its chances of being able to do anything to help Changla. I mean, China's so very big, we're so very weak. I don't know that what can we do? And, you know, given that, I wonder what Australians of Chinese background or any critics of China should do if they're contemplating living in or travelling to China.
You'd be very worried about going there if you've had any record of challenging or criticising the Chinese government at all, Andrew. But this is just another example of the clash of civilisations, isn't it? As China emerges into the developing world, into the first world, there is this enormous disharmony between the nonsense and bulldust that its spokesmen and women attempt to portray with straight faces and expect people in the West to believe this drivel about us respecting their processes. This is a government where 99% of people charged are found guilty. It's a dictatorial, repressive, communist regime. It's one of the last and worst communist regimes in the world, and they should be given no respect at all on issues like this. This is communism and the communist Chinese government at their absolute worst, and we're seeing it in all its in a shocking form today. It puts into context, by the way, the Lowy poll of 2 years ago that only 55% of young people in Australia support democracy. Those young people need to have a bit of a rethink in the light of what they see continually coming out of China.
Thing. Yeah. Mate, you're actually going to one of my points of my editorial, that I think we are so savage on ourselves that we're in a weaker and weaker position to attack the real evils in this world. Steve, I want to switch to
China. Sorry, I'll just finish it. Don't forget, this is all over a relatively trivial set of posts and a security agency operation in Australia. But at the same time, it is a chilling message when it comes to issues around Hong Kong, when it comes to issues around free trade, and when it comes to issues around Taiwan. The Chinese are sending a very, very straightforward message. Just shut up and mind your own business. We intend to conduct ourselves any way we want. And there's bigger issues, and I don't say that in any way denigrating the tragedy of one of our citizens now being held in China, but there are some very significant macro issues on the table right now and potentially on the table that the Chinese are engaged in. And this is just another little message to the rest of the world from China.
Oh, I think it's definitely sending a message. We can do this even to an Australian citizen, even to a mum with 2 children in Australia. We will do it, even for something so trivial as this. So shut up, everyone. And you're quite right. You know, the world used to say, oh, we didn't know what Hitler was doing to the Jews. We couldn't do anything back then. But the world does know, or should know, what China's doing to the Muslims there. No real outrage at all, just a few pro forma things, and it's getting away with this.